Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the main man, Martin, for Tuesday night fans forum night. And we always start the week with wondering what are we going to talk about, especially in pre-season. And then something happens across the Monday, across the day, and then something happens across the Tuesday. And all of a sudden, we've got an action-packed show to discuss. And Martin, we actually have a significant signing to talk about. Crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into this one now. Finally, a player looks like he's coming in the door. And although I love it, I'm a tiny bit annoyed because I only put up a post there, I think it was yesterday, about keeping the spine of the club. Even got ChatGPT to have a picture of the Villa head of the line and like the spine all in like Villa colours. It was looking great. And then the next day, it's Villa signed this. I'm like, oh, great, that's my post, Conte. No, you didn't.
Well, you're still kind of right. We've still got that spine of the team. I mean, we'll probably get into it. Does it mean that we are potentially going to let someone go? Does it mean that we have to sort of get people out and get people in? Or is this an addition to the squad? For me, I think it needs to be an addition because we'll get into this, but the areas where I believe we have to be improved on is the attacking options. So yeah, this is a significant one, but Adamski has got in there early with they really kept us guessing. There we go. And Kevin's there with a few more signings incoming. He did say, wait. Duncan, engine number 9, good evening to you. And who else? We got Gene, good evening to you. Great to have a new signing reported. And yeah, I think it's a developing story. It's now Evan Gesond is the player, if anyone is not sure and not aware, but it just burst out. I was at football training with my son, and all of a sudden I see messages just after 7:00 coming through. Like L'Equipe were reporting that Villa had sort of stepped in ahead of Crystal Palace, who had an initial bid of 20 million euros turned down, and Villa jumped in and got ahead and agreed a deal pretty much straight away. Then it was kind of talks progressing that I think Jacob Tanzor reported. Then the keeper said it had been agreed and he's got a 5-year deal and medical tomorrow. And then I think the latest is Jason Burt, I think his name is, from the Telegraph, has said that Aston Villa have agreed to pay a 22 million euro fee up front, and then the rest is going to be done in installments. And then there's the 5 million in add-ons to take it up to the 35 million euro fee. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on it? I did a quick video. If anyone hasn't seen that, do watch that. But interested to know your thoughts. Is it a situation where Aston Villa have been sort of looking for this player for a long, long time? I think he's been on our radar for a long time. But what I mean by that is, have they been kicked into gear because they've seen that Crystal Palace have bid for him and then gone, right, we see some value in this deal now, let's go and do it? Or has it been cooking and bubbling under and we've been in negotiations with them for months and months and months? What do you think it indicates?
I think it indicates, as for Villa, as the way the whole story kind of goes with us in transfers, we tend to make things happen very quickly in terms of making a deal. Now, I know this one hasn't, happened quickly, the first signing, but in terms of like signing a player, it feels like this kind of happened quickly because it came to report that supposedly there's an agreement. All of a sudden now there is an agreement, then Jacob Tanswell puts up everything. So it all kind of happened really quickly in the space of an hour or two. So I kind of get the feeling that although Palace had a bid rejected and maybe they were probably going to go back in, Bill probably saw that as an opportunity to say, right, let's flex a little bit of our financial muscle here. Give them this, give the add-ons, installments here, and see what they say. And obviously Nice have agreed to this. And that's when obviously Palace must have pulled the plug, or they haven't yet and make him in for a hijack bid. You never know. These things can still happen. We've seen crazier things happen in football. But as far as we're all aware that the player wants Aston Villa, and for me, that's a great thing. And he gives me Eze vibes. Like, I have seen him play a bit, and the way he glides past players, how he can move about, he's very physical, towering over a lot of people as well. So he gives
6'2",
yeah,
6'2",
he
big
gives you
player.
that presence which you've always looked for, Rich. Having them players of presence, because if it was a theme park, you'd be saying to players, right, over 6 foot or you're not getting in. Like,
yeah. That's my thing. Yeah.
So I really do like him, and I just think as well he plays across 4 different positions. So this is something that's really exciting, not just for a Villa fan, but for Unai Emery, because he wants players to play in multiple positions. So I feel like this is something Unai wanted done quickly. But I also know that Damien Vittagani was pushing for this. So maybe is it a Vittagani signing, and went to Emery, says, look, can we do this, in order to get the seal of approval of him, because we do know that Unai Emery has the final say on what players he brings in, on, of course, who he puts forward as well. So obviously this has been something that's been approved by Emery for Vittagani to go ahead and make this sign, and got it done quickly.
Yeah. I want to touch on a couple of points, and I know you've got a couple of little stats relating to his positions that we'll talk about in a second, and then I guess moving forward into what does it mean for the squad and other players. But just a few comments coming in. Duncan said, hit like and subscribe, everyone. Yes, please do. We are about 100 and just over 100 away from the big 6,000. So please, guys, hit the like button. First of all, help spread the word of the channel, and then hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel, or if you've been watching for ages and haven't subscribed yet. But Manzo said, looks an exciting signing. Wonder if this means that someone is on their way out. We will touch on that in a bit. Si, good evening to you, mate. British Mick said, this is what Monchi is paid to do. Hopefully, as a fan base, we can relax, enjoy being fans, and put our efforts into supporting the team up the Villa. Yeah, Monchi was coming under a bit of criticism last week on social media. Vristos said he's watched him a handful of times the last season. His playing style reminds me of Rodgers, strong, technical, and carries the ball a lot. Well, look, we know that Unai Emery likes that type of player, and with his physical prowess and all that, and the goals that you're going to talk about in a second, and the creativity, I think that leads for an exciting player, certainly, and one that I'm pretty sure Aston Villa fans will enjoy watching. So you talked about him being able to play across many different positions, and we know that Emery likes that versatility. We've seen Donyell Marlin be able to operate on the right-hand side. We've seen him be able to operate off the striker, can play up front as well. We know Morgan Rodgers can operate right across the midfield, the attacking third. Jacob Ramsey, even the similar positions as well, on that left, on the right, maybe in the number 10 as well. So we know that players can interchange positions and can place different roles. But Evan Gesson fits that bill as well pretty well. So yeah, talk us through some of the stats and stuff that you've put together on Evan Gesson in the different positions that he's played.
Well, look, he can operate across the whole front four. He could play as a 10, right wing, left wing, or centre forward. And although primarily number 10 has been kind of like very few and far between in terms of him playing there.
We've got a guest.
Yeah, we've got a guest, a little one, a little Daisy. The dog's here, sorry. But in terms of Gesson, which is what we were talking about, sorry, we had a hijack from the dog. Number 10 has been like not been as frequent as compared to the other 3 positions. So as a right wing, he's played frequently there, left wing, and a centre forward. He has played centre forward most of the time. He's played 67 games as a centre forward, and he has, 14 goals and 9 assists, which you would say is pretty good, because he's been coming through the years. He's still only 24, so there's a lot to do. As a left winger, he has 14 games there with 3 goals and 4 assists. Again, you would say that's actually a decent return now. Now, right wing is something that really excites me a little bit. He's had 38 games on the right, and he's got 12 goals and 9 assists. Now, nearly half the games as a centre forward, and he's putting up the exact same numbers. So is it a case of right wing is his best position? Possibly so. But there's also other positions that he can play. But the feeling is that we're getting from Unai Emery and people in and around the club is that he's going to play as an inside forward because he wants to develop him sort of like that. A bit like Morgan Rogers, who was primarily out on the wings when he was at Middlesbrough and then playing as that 10 role. That's the feeling that everyone is getting, that's where he's going to play.
Yeah, and I think those signs are quite encouraging, and I think I did my little bit of a sofa score analysis, so I'll share my screen again in terms of that from my shorter video before. But he's created quite a few chances, scored numerous goals as well, but also he can score with his left foot, his head, and his right foot. So 7 goals scored with the right foot, 2 goals scored with the left foot, and 3 goals with his head. That's in the league last season. So he can obviously get into the box. He can obviously score. He scored 1 from outside the box. Most of his goals in the league had come from inside the box. But he's also assisted in 8 goals and also created 12 big chances as well. So you said before about him being able to glide past players and then being able to maybe put the ball across for other players, or he's been able to slide the ball in for other players to have their effort on goal. But then he's also got into the box and he's scored with left foot, right foot, head. So to me, there's probably, if he's available for that price, 20, 25, 28 million pounds, 35 million euros in terms of the add-ons. If he's available for that price, there's obviously some refinement to do. There's obviously some, elements where he's a bit rough around the edges. But this is the perfect prototype for Unai Emery, an Unai Emery type player, isn't it? We've seen this multiple times over the last 3 years. Even when he came in, he spots a player and then he thinks, well, I've got some attributes to work with that player. Then we've seen it with the various signings that he's made with the likes of the obvious one, Morgan Rogers. But then if we look at Ian Maatsen, what is he going to do with him from last season to this season? Amadou Onana, how is he going to refine his game from last season to this season? Yuri Tillemans, who couldn't get in the side when he first signed, had to learn what Unai Emery wanted of him, and look at what he produced last season. So we've seen this with multiple players that Unai Emery has either brought in and worked with or seen what he can get out of them. So to me, it's a really exciting prospect, and we've seen it multiple times where there's value that's been spotted in the market by, say, Monchi, Vidigani, and Unai Emery, and then they've seen, right, these are the areas, these are the strengths that he's got. This is how he's going to implement into our team. But these are the things that Emery's going to need to work on with him and sees the challenge with him to then take him to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen it before. And I think another player who I'm expecting to kind of have a big season is Andreas Garcia. I really think he could have a big season now, having a pre-season under Emery. Although he probably did have a little bit of an injury in the US tour, which is something we will touch on a bit later. But we've known that Unai Emery can make players better. And I kind of like that, not necessarily going for the finished product, which is not something that you should always do, because then they might not work out. Where if you kind of get someone in who has the potential to be good and you develop them, it's much more rewarding and you can see the benefits of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people in the chat sort of saying that as well. Dristos says, yes, he thinks he'll play mostly right wing or as a 10 or second striker for us. Perhaps we can rest Watkins for a few games. Also, McPhee will love him. He scores quite a lot with his head on set pieces. Again, an area where we've really needed to strengthen as well. Richard said, I agree, he's a bit of a rough diamond, but Emery can shape him, I'm sure. And John says, Rogers was a rough diamond as well. Exactly. British Mix says, Onana needs to toughen up. No sick notes this season. Fist pumps at the end is brilliant, but we need him on the pitch when called upon. I absolutely agree, and I've been encouraged by him in pre-season. And one I did forget in terms of the rough diamond and the kind of bargain or value in the market is Donyell Marlin, and lots of people do see him having a potential big season this season. I still need a bit of convincing with him, but I hope that he does have a big season. And yeah, good evening to you as well, Andy, in the chat. Great to have you on board. I guess in terms of us signing him, and I touched on it just 2 minutes or so ago, it's brilliant that we're signing him. We needed options up top in terms of attacking, because if Watkins gets injured, if Marlon gets injured, if Rodgers gets injured, looking at the goals that we scored over preseason, they predominantly come from Watkins or Rodgers. I know Marlon got one the other night, but that's where the main bulk of, that's where pretty much all of our goals have come from, those two players in preseason so far. So you see how important they are to the team and important they are to our goal scoring. So we needed attacking options. However, does this mean that we are going to say goodbye to one of the other attacking players, i.e. a Leon Bailey, a Jacob Ramsey I'm talking about? Not necessarily the fringe players like Emery Buendia, but particularly those two players.
I can see a Jacob Ramsey. There seems to be a lot of interest from West Ham in terms of signing him, and suppose we want north of £40 million from him. So that one I can kind of see. Maybe Leon Bailey as well. You could see two possibly go, as the depth now in that attacking area seems to be quite high with this new signing. So I just think with Ramsey,
would we be at risk though of losing that depth if we were to say get rid of a Ramsey and a Bailey, for example?
No, I don't think we will, because you see Rodgers, I really like when he plays out on the left because he has more of that freedom role. Marlon, who I think is, in my opinion, is better on the right because he's more direct. You get the ball into the box, he'll look for a finish, which you've seen some tidy finishes that he's made from the right. He really gets himself in the box at the right time. Ollie Watkins is obviously predominantly a centre forward, but at times if you want to rest him, you can play Gusan there and then potentially put Rodgers in the 10. And you could probably put McGinn out on the left or Marlon out left, McGinn on the right. I don't think you lose that depth as such, but you do a lot of changing around. I think it's good, but I don't think you lose the depth, because you have to remember we have Redmond, who is still in the squad, who's pretty much going to be a backup to Ollie Watkins, and he might even get himself a few games now if that's going to be the case, which is going to be good for his development. So
yeah,
I don't think we'll lose the depth as such.
Yeah, I do and I don't agree. I think Bailey, I've heard Besiktas have inquired about him, so I don't think we're going to stand in his way should he, should an offer come in or something that suits Aston Villa and him in moving him. I do agree with a couple of the comments. I'll be now we've signed Gesson, I'll be more concerned if we had to sell to bring him in, like if we had to sell a Ramsey to bring him in, that would be a little bit more, not concerning, but I'd want to see us sign someone else. And I know there's like Gabriel Sara's been linked and one or two others, but I would like to see that. Whereas I could cope with Bailey and I could cope with Buendia going, and then even like you say, a Redmond coming through, or dare I say Gimo Aloba or something coming through. Although again, I need more convincing on him.
We also still have Buendia, who seems to be having a good preseason at the moment.
Yeah, I just can't see him. I just can't. He frustrates me so much, Emery Buendia.
I know he's one of them. Either he has a 10 out of 10 game, or he has an absolute stinker.
Oh yeah, he has 10 out of 10 moments, and then 0 out of 10 ends to the moment. Like he'll have a brilliant first touch and then a terrible pass, all in the same move, and it's just like you can't continue with players like that. He just winds me up. But obviously, I know Aston Villa fans really like him because he runs around a lot. And that doesn't make a good player to me. I know Leon Bailey gets criticised and stuff sometimes for his effort and that, but most of the time Bailey looks more threatening than Emery Buendia does, because Buendia just gives the ball away constantly or just makes the wrong decision. Probably not the best two examples, because I'd probably see them both move on, but Buendia to me just never ever been good enough. That's just the way it is for me. I've never been able to see it. Never been able to see it with him. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. But I just hope in conclusion, it's a really, really positive signing, and I really like the fact that we've been looking for this player for a while. Now, whether it was Crystal Palace that kicked us into gear to go and get it done, or whether it was the value in the market that saw us get it done, the fact that we just got it done straight away is really encouraging, because we've seen other clubs, Newcastle, having to sort of haggle, negotiate, get sold down the river with certain players. And then all of a sudden, then this player isn't available anymore. They've got to switch their attention to someone else, and they're just trying to sign anyone at the moment. We've just gone and got it done, got it over the line straight away. Rough diamond that we can polish and move on, and that's brilliant. It means that we can then look at another player that we maybe potentially want to sign as well, because we've got this one sorted. And then we're in a position now where we might be able to say, okay, now we're in an okay position to let Leon Bailey go, or an Emery Buendia go, or even, dare I say, a Jacob Ramsey go, if we want to make that pure profit on a PSR deal. So it puts us in a really good position that we've managed to get this deal just done there and then. And it'll be amazing if we announce it tomorrow before the Roma pre-season game, and he's standing there holding the shirt in the new kit, in the new training kit. That would just top it all off. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the old saying goes, we won't believe the player sign unless he's actually physically holding the shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So I did touch on that. Before we get into it, we're going to talk the Roma friendly and I guess cover the sort of pre-season so far. But we have got over 200 in the chat already. So thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't already, on your way in, hit the like button. We are literally on the road to 6,000 subscribers. We're about just over 100 away, which is just amazing. So please do hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. Keep your comments flowing. We know Fans Forum is your night as well. So any questions, any comments you want to make? Obviously, we've talked about the new signing that we're due to make very, very soon. That's dominated the conversation. But anything else you want to discuss, please do get it in the chat and we'll cover all questions, everything at the end. But let's talk Roma, because the pre-season is sort of kicking into, well, it's getting into the final stages now. We were talking before we came on the show about, we got another week or so till the Marseille and Villarreal games, and we're like, actually no, they are this weekend, and the season starts next week. So a week on Saturday the season starts. So we're getting very, very close. So we're getting really into the business end of pre-season. So what are you expecting to see tomorrow, i.e. Wednesday evening against Roma, in terms of starting 11, tactics? Is this going to be, I guess, the team that is going to be most likely to take to the field against Newcastle?
Yeah, I do expect that. I think for now we're at the business end of pre-season. I do believe now we're at a stage where Emery should have an idea in his head what his starting 11 is going to be. Now, you might see potentially one or two changes in the game in Newcastle. You'll never know, but he should have a rough idea of a bracket of about 14 players who he knows he wants to play, and then try to shuffle things around before getting to the best possible 11. So I do feel like this game is going to be the one where we see a starting 11 where Emery is going to go, right, this is roughly the team for now against Newcastle. But if someone performs coming off the bench and changes his mind, then he might start to look at it, which can happen in football. Just because you have plan A doesn't mean it always goes ahead. You always have plan B, C, D, so on, so on, so on. And I'm expecting in terms of performances is confidence, in the system that we play, trying to get the ball through the lines, doing everything right. Rustiness should be gone now. We should be ready for the Premier League, which is next week. Hallelujah, because Love Island is finished. So that's going to be next week. So thank the Lord. So this should be now at the stage where these players should be fit, ready to go. I know we have another 2 games after that as well, but we should be at the stage now where all rustiness should be gone. Everything should be prim and proper and up to standard.
Yeah, well, again, we chatted before, and you mentioned about the 2 friendlies that we've got back to back, and I agree with you that there'll be a mix. It'll be sort of some of the first team and some fringe and youngsters playing against Marseille, and then the other half of the first team with other youngsters and fringe players playing against Villarreal the next day. So this one on Wednesday will be, I agree with you, potentially is close to the first 60 minutes anyway, is close to what Emery thinks will be the main team against Newcastle. Now, he'll probably go ahead and just completely screw our plans over in terms of that, but that's what I would expect. And you know, we never know, there could be a behind closed doors friendly or something next week that is the first team players.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
we'll see about that. But yeah, that's what I envisage. And moving through that, and you talked about kind of the way that you want to see us play, you know, that playing through the lines and sort of dusting off that rustiness that we maybe had and trying certain things in the US tour. But I guess, what were your reflections from those 3 games in the US against Eintracht, St. Louis City and Nashville? You know, 2 draws, two draws and a 2-1 victory. Not that the scores matter too much, but I guess, what were your main sort of takeaways from that?
I think the main sort of takeaway for me is confidence in not losing any games. Simply because obviously some of the players that were only forced back, so rustiness needed to go out the window. I understand people would say, "Oh, why couldn't you do that when he was doing it in the Premier League?" You have to remember these lads have had a few weeks off, you know, and they're only human. You know, trying to get back into repetition always takes a while. So it's obviously like riding a bike. You're starting to struggle for a little bit, but once you kind of get back into rhythm, you're there. And that's exactly what I got out of this US tour. Players coming up to scratch. Some players probably had it straight away. Some needed that little bit more time to get back up to their fitness levels and performance levels. And then there was some who are just off the pace completely. And they're the ones I'm not. They're probably more or less the fringe players. So my general feeling in it is that we look confident now. It looks like now we're ready to play. We've looked sharp. And I know against Nashville we were 2-0 up, and then, you know, we go back to a 2-2 draw, but that's only because you made the changes you make. So you're chopping and changing, making sure players are fit. And these teams are always going to play their strongest teams and not make too much changes. So they're always going to be that bit more ahead in terms of that fitness levels and, you know, performance levels and confidence. And we're just kind of at the point where it's only a friendly for us. It's not as serious as some other clubs might take it. But in saying that, for me now, it's great to have all the rustiness gone. Confidence should be there. And Unai now should have a set 11 of going, right, this is who's performed. This is going to be the Newcastle starting lineup. If 1 or 2 impress between now and then, or whoever doesn't impress them, then it will change. But for me, it's great now to have all this rustiness gone and players looking sharp. And Malin, in my opinion, is the one who's looked the sharpest.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I think in terms of output and numbers, I think Marlin's been good. You know, the 3 assists and the 1 goal, and it was a lovely finish the other day against Nashville. I think Watkins has looked really sharp. Someone made a good point about him maybe needing to into next season scoring more than 1 goal in a game. I'd really like that, just to kind of build on this. You've scored a really good goal, a couple of really good headers, but can you build on that? I've been impressed with Onana, and I've been fairly impressed with Lamar Bogart, actually, in terms of being able to stand up. Yeah. My concerns are, and I hope these are ironed out, and I'm sure they will be, but my concerns are that we're conceding the same type of goal. And now that could be because he's trying to train them to keep playing out from the back and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it till, you know, it's kind of ingrained in terms of, you know, you make the mistake and you kind of improve and learn from that mistake. And like you said, there's been numerous changes, but we're conceding the same type of goal where Kamara receives the ball with his square on to the facing our own goal, and the defender can just outstrength him, take it through past him, and then put it in the net, or lay it off to someone to put it in the net. So that worries me. That type of goal we're conceding multiple times. And then some of the lapses in concentration. But as you say, that could be down to rustiness. And then, just like I said before, I want to see more goals from other areas of the pitch. I really do. I think we have to, and hopefully this signing of Gesson will help that, because too many times we are relying on Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers.
Mm.
And if they don't score, Villa don't score, we have to really look at what we're doing in that respect. So those were the two main concerns for me. I know we probably need one or two other players, and this signing is really like caught us. It's great that we've been able to do it, and I just hope there's a couple more that come through like off out of the blue like that. So that'd be great. And yes, Stephen's put that point. We really do need pace. Now, I don't know with guess on how fast he is in terms of in behind. He might be fast, strong, running with the ball, but we really need pace in behind, because when I talked about that playing across the back, if we've got a player who we know we can go long to, who's going to play off the shoulder of the defender, then it automatically gives the defenders on the ball for Aston Villa an option to go long. They don't. Sometimes I see them reluctant to play it into midfield or to play it up to Ollie Watkins or play it into the channels, because they know that it's going to come straight back. Whereas if we had, you saw just the impact that Marcus Rashford could have just by staying up on the last man or staying on the shoulder of the, in between the fullback and the defender, because they knew that if we put a ball into the channel, he was away. Look at the goal we scored against Brighton, just one long ball and it's over the top of the defense and he scored a goal. So we really do need pace, and that's massively important to us. So those three areas I was kind of most concerned of, but I'm sure Unai Emery's working on that. But sometimes you need new signings to
lift the players you currently have up,
that and strengthen that and keep players on their toes. Sometimes it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, right? You can't, Tyrone Mings is Tyrone Mings. He can improve to a certain extent, but what are you going to be? Are you going to be able to make him super confident at playing out from the back? Are you going to be able to stop Ezri Konsa from sometimes holding onto the ball for too long and trying to buy the foul from the attacker? Probably not. He already does that. You can't take that out of his game. Are you going to be able to stop John McGinn from not being great at receiving the ball from the defenders and maybe not having a great first touch in those positions? Probably not, because we know what McGinn's strengths are running, driving with the ball through midfield. So that's where sometimes you need a new player to kind of mix it up a little bit. So that's what I think. But yeah, getting loads of comments on that. Gary says we need a threat in the box from defense or midfield from set pieces. Someone in the comments has said Guessond is the man for set pieces. Villa 946 says bring back the high line, risk reward defending. What do you think about the high line?
I think it worked in the year we made the Champions League, but it got to the point where it became a little bit too predictable. We've seen teams like Liverpool or Tottenham, teams who have really quick wingers just hold their run and would just run in behind and enjoy so much space. Crystal Palace being one of them as well. I think there's certain games you can get away with it, but I don't think you can get away with it every week, because it'll just become too predictable. Teams can just wait in the halfway line if they want, bomb it, load the space for them. So I just think that certain games you can get away with it and certain games you can't.
Yeah, I think you need one really quick centre-back and one really quick full-back. Now, with Maatsen, we've got one really quick full-back, but I don't think we've yet got a really quick centre-back. Yeah. Drista says, I think we need to work on mentality in the build-up. Our slow pace and dwelling on the ball causes a lot of problems. We need to be more assertive and play with a purpose. Slow pace equals slow mind. I agree. I definitely agree, particularly away from home. Now, there's a difference, right? You can contain teams. You can be disciplined. But when you have the ball, like Drista says, you have to have a purpose to what you're doing. Even if it is playing it across the back, you have to have a purpose to and almost carry like a threat as to why you're doing this, not just aimlessly playing it across the back, because that's when you put yourself into trouble. And that's the I guess the real quandary that I want to see us solve that.
And just to kind of go back on his point there with slow pace, slow mind, it's an excellent point, because we've seen at times where when we've got to that position, albeit slowly, like you say, but there's been a few times when we've got there fairly quickly we have too much time to think when we get into clear cut spaces. And that's when you go with what's your first instinct, because our build has been so slow and getting to places that's how fast they'll naturally think. But when we get somewhere so quickly and then you've loads of space, you've got too much time to think. So by the time you want to make your decision, it's gone. So I do agree with them. We do need to be a bit faster in order to have that better mentality, have that better killer instinct, such that our first thought is go. So I 100% agree with Christoph.
Yeah, and just certain players being able to do, like I want to see Kamara going through and having more shots like he did against Tottenham. I want to see Yuri Tillemans have that bit more killer instinct. I want to see, even John McGinn, getting back to that goal scoring midfielder that he was the season before last. When you get into exactly
when he was getting them in.
Exactly, when you get into the opportunity to have a shot, take the shot. That's what we want to see. Now, Saiful is in the chat. We've talked a lot about Gesson, so that was right at the start. But I think everyone's really positive about it, and I think there is a bit of a sigh of relief, as you've said there. I think it's good that we are. Monchi was feeling a bit of criticism. Well, he probably wasn't feeling criticism, but there was some criticism coming around, and it's always difficult to you get that looking through the window syndrome, don't you? At everyone else, you're seeing like Chelsea make all these signings, Liverpool make all these signings, Manchester United keep throwing the weight around, and then you're thinking, well, everyone's going to leave Villa. You got Martinez looking at leaving. You've got Watkins that they're trying to sell off, and then you think, well, we're not signing anyone, and then all of a sudden something comes out of the blue, and it kind of makes that it does make you feel a bit more relieved, and you think, yes, actually we have got some money, we have got some, even if we do have to let one or two of our fringe players go, then just that bit of freshness that we just talked about, Martin, makes all the difference, doesn't it?
And just a question for you as well. Like you touched on, Martin is leaving, Watkins might leave, and Chelsea interested in Rodgers and whatnot. But do you think that although everyone kind of read too much into Emery Martinez crying and waving, but do you think there might have been a conversation with these players within the club to get them to stay? Because I think there was, because of one thing and one thing only, World Cup year. And that's the thing for players, where do they take the risk of moving to a club and maybe not performing to the level that they're at and not make the World Cup squad? Because you have to remember, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful manner, but the likes of your Man United, your Chelsea, Liverpool are a higher profile club. You're going to be scrutinised as much on the media from them as you are with us. Because, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner, these clubs are just bigger than us, and that's just the way it is. But we are a big club in our own right. So is it a case of getting to stay because then there's less pressure on them from the media side of things now, mind you, because we know they can perform. But when you're scrutinised by the media, it will affect their chances of making that World Cup squad. So maybe has that been played into the factor that let's actually not leave because we have a good thing here. We're getting called up to international levels because we've been here. And if you move to that higher profile club, do you run the risk of losing that spot because you're more in the profile picture?
I think that probably the conversation would have happened on a two-way street. So I do agree with you to certainly for someone like Morgan Rodgers. And I think the conversation would have been had by him, potentially with the club, potentially with his agent as well, as like, look, you're onto a great thing with Aston Villa. You're going to get regular game time. You're going to be one of the main men if, obviously if you stay fit. And that's going to help you a lot going into the England side, into next season, into next summer's World Cup. If you go into Chelsea, like you said, the scrutiny is on you and you're maybe not going to play every single game. And, that could affect your chances with international duty. So certainly with one or two of the players, with Emery Martinez, I don't necessarily think that would make a massive difference to him. Although that was still dependent so much on whether they could have got rid of Onana in goal, and because he's not going to come in and Onana didn't want to be number 2, and then and Martinez wouldn't be coming in to fight for the jersey when he's the number 1 at Aston Villa. And then Ollie Watkins, I don't even know whether there was a full serious bid on that front. I mean, I know Watkins divides opinion across the fan base, and we know that. But in my opinion, he's scored for the value of the player. I know there's an age difference and everything like that, but if Brian Mbeumo is going for £65 million plus add-ons, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got Ollie Watkins, and they put a derisory offer in. Let's say it was like just a test the water type thing for 35-40 million. Then you just laugh them off because the guy scored double figures goals in the Premier League for the last 5 seasons. So you're guaranteeing double figures goals.
And so then you're getting with that player as well.
Exactly. So yeah, I think conversations were probably had. I think mainly probably not between player and manager, but certainly, Monchi and the board and the agents. So yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, but it does make sense on that front. I wouldn't be surprised to see a new contract in front of Morgan Rogers to be signed.
I've seen Manswell put up that it's a spexy that they're going to give him a new deal. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. Obviously, Kamara's got a new deal, so that'd be another thing for Kamara. Is he staying as well for this World Cup year to try and get in the France team?
Quite possibly, and for the players as well, and for the club. Like we were saying right when the season ended, I think all bets were off on multiple players. Right, if a bid had come in and it was of a satisfactory amount, then Emi Martinez could have gone, Ollie Watkins could have gone, even Morgan Rogers could have gone if, say, £130 million bid came in. Right, however. They haven't, and the Villa are in a good position to say, well, we don't need to sell them. You look at what's happening with Newcastle at the moment. They've got a player who actively wants to leave the club. Right now, they're trying to now sign another player to try and replace him, and they're just kind of throwing money here, there, and everywhere to try and get that player. Clubs know that situation. Clubs know what they value Alexander Isak at. So they're going to try and drive a bit of a harder bargain, and then you've then got to convince the player and all that sort of stuff, right? And you've also got to sign a player of at least potential ability of Alexander Isak, which is extremely difficult. So we are in a pretty good position, and I did say, like, I want to see improvements. I want to see freshening up. We talked about the right back position. We talked about centre back position. We need a potentially attacking options. However, what I've also said, our team is bloody good, right? Our midfield is a hell of a midfield. You look at the options in there: Tielemans, Kamara, Rogers, McGinn, Ramsey if we keep him, Ross Barkley, who's injured at the moment, obviously on the fringes, but it's still a hell of a midfield in terms of the options that it's got. You then match that up with Marlon, Watkins, Leon Bailey at the moment, Gesson coming in. It's a good solid side. A right back, whether that be Garcia competing with Cash or whatever, or just an improvement at right back, and then I still think we need another centre back. I really do, because I don't think we can go into the season with Torres, Konsa, Mings, and Bogard. I just don't think we can do that. I think we need another senior centre back. Now, whether that's done on loan, we'll see. Asensio's been talked about on loan again. We'll get into this now. Where do you see? Do you agree with me on the improvements? Do you think it's right back and centre back still, or do you think what do you think? Where do you see the improvements need to come still?
I do think the improvement needs to be right back, and maybe a centre back to challenge perhaps our starting centre backs to keep them on their feet. So I think that's where that is. With Asensio, there's pros and cons I look to Asensio, right? The pro is he knows the system. He got 8 goals, 1 assist. He'll probably be motivated because it's World Cup year and Unai fancies the player. Big fan of him, we know that. But then the con is that his output really kind of worn out when Rashford was out of the squad, so we didn't have that link-up play that we've loved with seeing. He was then being probably pushed off the ball quite a lot because he didn't have that muscle midfield that that Premier League midfielders have. And then it was a case of me where it's wages as well. Like PSG are going to want to demand, Villa to cover the wages or high percentage as such. And with the SCR issue, it's not ideal to do that. Where if you get someone like a Gusand, who is still an exciting player all the same, but he's not going to be on the wages that Marco Asensio will be on. So I do think that there's more cons to Asensio than there is pros. So my feeling is that I'd rather use that money to work on the defence, because it has been said that Emery wants to bring in a right back, and that's been something he's been wanted to do for a few years. So he kind of needs to do it now this summer, as opposed to just bringing in someone who's probably only want to come in because it's World Cup year, and that's the last thing I want.
Yeah. I kind of agree with on the Asensio thing. I think the other part is what it does to Morgan Rogers. Like, what do we do with him? Because you bring in a player,
it puts him in a pickle. Yeah,
exactly.
It puts him in a pickle because although he has done a good job out on the right, but my feeling, and I've always said it, and this is how I watch Rogers, when he's on the right, he's not the same player. Right? Because he has to work that bit harder to track back to help out in terms of winning the ball back, and then still has to try and make things happen. Although he does it very well, and I'm not discrediting him whatsoever,
you just lose something with him, don't you?
You lose that flair, you lose that creativity in the midfield, you lose that robust carrying through the ball as well. You lose a lot. And then what you also lose with him, I think, as well, is his mental thinking, because he's doing all this work and then he has to do being creative, and you're being worn out, and then it becomes a mental fitness for him. And when you're mentally tired, you don't think right. You just don't think right. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're non-league, Sunday league football, or Premier League football. When you don't have that mental fitness and fatigue, you're going to struggle to think on the pitch, and especially in the Premier League when the pace that they go at. That's why I feel like Morgan Rogers is so much better on the left.
Yeah.
Because Maxson can do all that work. Onana can shift over there. Kamara can shift over there to cover him as well. And you have that more of a free role to be able to carry and win fouls in exciting areas where Onana and now Gusand and all our tall players to get into the box and win something, where on the right, he's not that player. For me, Rogers has to play in the middle or on the left.
Yeah. Agreed. Kevin says Asensio is not everyone's cup of tea, but would be great cover. I think a lot of people saying he could be on the bench and be an impact player, but I don't know if you're bringing him in on a season-long loan, he's gonna kind of be that. Sai says I like Asensio, but his wages are too silly. And PD said right centre back cover is the priority. And what else have we got? We need someone on the left, says Sai. British Mix says spot on, Martin, about Asensio. Rogers. We need a better bench, says Brandy Bryan. Seifel says, can we finally see Watkins play with another striker, Gesson, or is he not suited to that role as we saw with Ings and Durand? Can I have your thoughts, please, Martin and Rich?
Oh, I like this one. I think Watkins is a better lone striker, simply because Watkins gets himself about. He likes to be busy. He likes to bully two centre halves, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't think Watkins communicates well when he's playing a front two. Because I've seen it before, when he tries to shift over, say, to that other centre forward side in terms of trying to get the ball, he's not communicating with that centre forward, running behind me or run across, because to make movement happen. And that's kind of like when the two players clash, and I've seen it before. So I just think he's better as a lone striker, because he can do a bit more himself. He can look around, communicate with his wingers and his 10 or what he wants to do. Where with a front two, I don't think he does that. I've got
there we go. Martin's tactics.
This is not one of my second accounts or anything like it. My two hands are here. Look, I've been talking like this all evening, so I just think, but like I'm saying, I just don't think Watkins suits the front two. I really do think he's a lone striker.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that he he's neither to play with a strike partner. You've either got to be the hold up man, or you've got to be the running behind striker. And Watkins is neither of them, but he's good. He's pretty good at both of those things. So he's pretty good at holding the ball up, and he's also pretty good at playing off the shoulder. But he's not amazing at either of them. Watkins is the all-round striker, so that's why he can play up front by himself, because he can do some of the hold-up work, he can do some of the off-the-shoulder work, he can do some of the running the channels, he can do a lot of the pressing across the defenders. But what he doesn't do is, because he does all of those things pretty well, he doesn't do any of those things amazingly well. So he doesn't we tried to have him hold the ball up for Danny Ings, who's in the box striker, off the shoulder type striker. And then John Duran was kind of not really a hold up man, but let's say he had the big presence to be potentially that hold up man. But then Watkins couldn't really play off him and play off the shoulder. So that's where, for me, he's suited up front by himself. Now, what he can do is he can operate with two players sort of either side of him, and he can link up with, say, a Morgan Rogers who runs from deep, plays the 1-2 pass, like plays it into him, and then Watkins can receive it and play like the first time pass into him off like a 1-2 pass. So he can do that type of thing. But yeah, he can't quite do the that real strike partnership thing. And I think it's too late in the game to make him develop that right now. If he was 22 years of age, you could probably get him to develop that. But when now he's 29, 30, he knows what he's good at, and that's what we're going to have to. That's what we're going to have to go with. I know Carrie's not a big Watkins fan, but I just don't see us selling him now. I don't see us bringing in someone with the right timing of what we can do. And I don't think
and someone did put in the comments like, why would we sell Watkins and bring in Chant when we haven't really strengthened? That's more like replacement. It wouldn't make any sense. There you go.
There we go. I'm joining.
Okay, yeah. You got your love, all right? You happy now, right? But someone did put in the comment section where, why would we sell Watkins and bring in Chant? That's more like a replacement type of vibe as opposed to actually strengthening the team. And I'd 100% agree with that comment.
Yeah. Peter says, I will watch this, but just from Justin Talks Villa, he shows how Gesson is more than just a striker or a winger, but works hard off the ball too. And we know that Unai Emery really likes that type of player. And when I looked at the SofaScore sort of heat map, he does get back a lot, and you can see that. And he's obviously going to ingratiate himself with the fans if he does really, really work hard for the team. So that's really good. That's really good. I did want to ask a question here around the defense, because Sai says, talking to the defense, anyone else a little worried with Ezri's form? He's been decidedly erratic all summer. And then I think it was Brian said, our defense hasn't improved from last season. And I guess that was kind of touching on my point from before, in terms of the same type of goals that we're conceding and the need for defensive, I guess, reinforcements, or just, I'm not too sure. Like, is it going to be, are we going to need to have this settled back five again? No. Is it going to be a going back to the tried and trusted Martinez in goal, Cash at right back, Konza, Mings and Luka Dean? Or are we going to see, Torres really take that centre back spot as his own, or is Maatsen going to sort of become the number one left back? Like, what are we going to see with his defense? Because we do really need to see it. And also, sorry, just before you start, we have to get that cover right in front of them, right? Because sometimes it's not always the defense's fault. Yeah, sometimes it's what is the screening like in front of them, and sometimes, as great as Kamara is, sometimes his screening in front of those defenders isn't the best. He sometimes gets pushed off the ball too easily.
Yeah, I do. I was going to touch on that. Sometimes it's not always on the defense. It could be a midfield mistake, and then unfortunately the defense have to suffer for that, and then they're going to be the scapegoats. Where it's the exact same nearly for the goalkeeper. If the defense makes that mistake, the goalkeeper is going to end up nearly being the scapegoat, because people would have said, well, why didn't he save that? He would have saved that last season. But you have to remember that this is still pre-season, right? So a lot of things nearly kind of have to get out of the system and get them out the way so they learn from these mistakes and they don't make them again. But I do think we do need defensive reinforcements in order. Either A, lift these players up, get them motivated to say, right, you're not taking my spot. This is going to be my spot, and now I'm going to step up. Or it's B, someone's getting dropped in order for us to be better. And I think in that position, we'll be right back. Although Matty Cash has had a good preseason, I have liked him. He has been sharp. But at the same time, there's a general feel of, I just think he does too much of getting the ball, passing it back, playing it safe, not trying to beat your man or getting the cross in, not enough of that. So I just think that will need reinforcements. Although he is good at certain games, like away from home, where he can, sit deep, get the ball and, make some hard knocking tackles where that's his game. Where I feel like certain games, Matty Cash is not the answer. So we need someone in who is going to either A, also challenge Cash, or B, to be rotating in terms of what the games you're going to play, and another centre-back to bring in, 240s. That way, Unai Emery can be his tactical genius all you like, then start to play around things, right, this is going to suit that, that's going to suit that, because he's got the depth and cover.
Agreed. Yeah, we definitely need strengthening at the back, and we need to really cut out some of those mistakes. That being said, I felt like we did towards the back end of the season. We obviously won 8 out of the last 10 Premier League games, got quite a few clean sheets. So we did see that going back to that solid defense. Now, Peter, that is a brilliant pun. Elton John lose there, I guess, and that's why we're beating the Blues. I love it. Eagle-eyed football. Rich is in the chat. I hate how slow we are in doing business. And he says,
I was chatting to
enjoy
Rich.
Rich, I've put the link I've pinned the link at the top of the chat. If you are free and you want to jump on just for 5 minutes just to discuss this,
I think that one might
please
be
do.
JC.
Click the link.
I think that might be JC there, but
JC again, mate. Yeah. I'll put the link at the top. Please do click it, jump in, and give us your views, because you guys, this has come out of nowhere for Villa fans. I know we were interested in last summer, but this has come out of nowhere. So, how long were you guys chasing Guessand? Had you thought that a deal was done? I'd like to know from a Palace perspective. So, if you are free and you can, yes, Rich, jump on, mate. And give us the views from a Crystal Palace supporter. That would be amazing. So we'll get Richie on.
Well, earlier on when I put the link into my little group chat that we have, Rich just straight away texted me, said, "Go away, I'm pissed."
Seifel has asked, "Do we have any chance for Guessand?" It'll probably be something like Guessand, or it'll be da 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 da. Evan Guessand.
Oh, don't do that one, please. I hate that one the most.
Or it'll be Evan Guessand. I'm pretty sure it'll be something like that until someone on X gets in.
No, I like one. I guess we're beating the Blues.
Yeah, that'll be brilliant. If someone can link something to do with that Elton John one, that'll be fantastic.
We'll be in the Blues. Love it.
Brilliant. And I think Dristos actually agreed with you in terms of defense improving. If we can be a bit more aggressive and productive in our pressing, we've gone quite passive with time in our pressing up front, and maybe someone like, Guessand and Rodgers and Watkins really pressing, and Marlon, we know how much he's like a bull in the china shop, isn't he, when he gets running? So maybe that will be a bit more of an aggressive press from us going forward. So that'll be something interesting to see.
That's a great comment here.
Yeah, just seeing that. He messaged me as well, saying he went to the national game. We looked great until we made the 8 changes. Most of our transfers typically come from left field. Yep, definitely. So he's not worried yet on lack of signings. Now, we were interested in that. Was it Jonathan Canvo? That's gone a little bit quiet, but that was the player that I think we'd actually put a bid in for, hadn't we? And it had been knocked back initially. He's a young, highly rated centre-back. But again, whether that would be, signing another really highly rated centre back and then loaning him out for a season, I don't know.
A bit like Oscan.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And let's see if we've got any more. Gary has put, why don't we ever sign a world-class right back? Now, this was, I know I was listening to Justin's phone in yesterday, which was good. And he did his kind of his best 11 and he's gone to the right backs. And now this might be eras. This would be probably to do with eras. But to me, I was really surprised that no one mentioned Earl Barrett as the best right back that we've had, because he was the right back you obviously won't remember him, but he was the right back we had when we finished second in the league. Really solid player, very, very consistent right back. So to me, Earl Barrett has been our best right back. I can't think of too many better than him. And do you know what? Right, I think
for me it's Alan Hutton, just for the
Alan Hutton. Yeah, but
for me it's him.
He was for the goal against Blues. Lots of people gave it that vote.
It's not even that. He was so consistent.
Very hot. Very. What's the word? He just put everything into every game, didn't he?
Yeah,
put everything into every game. So, yeah, Alan Hutton. He'll be the cult hero. But to me, Earl Barrett was top quality. I can't. That was very surprising to me. And did anyone remember Fernando Nelson, who played under Brian Little? Again, you won't remember it, but he was. I
may as well just. Will I just hop off?
He was.
The old dogs come in, and I'll just come back in with the new tricks after yours are all finished.
I'm pretty sure he was the right wing back when we won the Coca-Cola Cup, 95-96. I'm pretty sure. And Gary Charles was excellent as well, as John says there. Michael says Earl Barrett was classy, and Melberg. Manzo says Earl Barrett. Yes, he agrees. Sai says yes, Gary Charles. Weston he said Fernando Nelson. Favela says Larson. Yes, yeah, we're showing our age. We're definitely showing our age. And Kenny Swain, yeah. When I was a kid, when I was little, he was class. Did Tony DeRigo play right back? Or am I getting that wrong? Or was he left? He might have been a left back actually, DeRigo. But yeah, who was
29 years of age, right? But let's bring it up a little bit in terms of players.
What I was gonna say, you got to watch the history of Villa, mate. You've got to watch it. What I was gonna say though was, he gets so much stick, right? But are we not going to appreciate Matty Cash when he eventually leaves? Would he not be more appreciated when he leaves?
It could be. I think that's a great show. I think it could be one of them where maybe we treated him too harshly. It could be one of them. Or if someone does come in and automatically improves that right back position, and then you don't miss Matty Cash at all, and it's going to be like, well, I'm glad we got rid of him, but it's going to go either way. I really do. Some will be on the defenses of, glad we got rid of him, or it would be, we probably should never got rid of him and kept him as a number 2. It would have been a great backup.
Yeah. Sai says Cashew's been all right in pre-season.
He has.
He thought Mark Delaney, he was an underrated right back as well. Cash is a solid player, but so frustrated. Yeah, DeRigo was a left back. Yeah. I
did like Luke Young at right back.
Luke Young, I was just about to say. What about you? Luke,
I thought he was a
solid player. Solid player, yeah. But did Martin O'Neill sign him?
I think it might have been Leary.
Because I remember him playing under O'Neill for a bit, and then I know O'Neill preferred basically 4 centre backs across the back line, didn't they?
I think it might
John
have been
Gidman,
Leary.
yeah.
I think it might have been Leary.
Yeah. Just waiting for Rich to jump on. I don't know if you want to. I'll forward you the link just in case you wanted to forward it to him as well, Martin, just in case he can't get it at the top of the chat. Oh, here he is. Talk of the devil.
Speaking of the devil,
we are going to get. Look at him with his background. You'll see in a second. But you're going to get from Rich, from a Crystal Palace perspective, what the situation was with Evan Gesson. So, Rich, welcome to the show, mate. I see you've got the FA Cup next to you, just to show us.
No, hang on.
Cheer
I'm
you
not
up a little bit.
I was at that game. I am not having this with you. And he was on that train, and you know what he said first away, right? Because I was literally trying to dodge him, looking away. But this eagle-eyed, no pun intended, looked at me and went, "Hi, Martin," and literally all the boys swarming over, and I was like that. I was, but you know what? I gave credit where it was due. They were the better team.
100%.
This
and
is
deserved winners of
winners
of the FA
no
Cup as well,
shame.
mate. However,
it's the only thing that's cheering me up. So don't give me that stick. I'm ticked off.
we've managed to beat you to one thing. So this season, we've managed to beat you to one thing, and maybe it's a sign of things to come with this new season. But yeah, from a Palace perspective, we saw today it was reported that you'd put in a 20 million, 25 million euro bid that was kind of knocked back. And then all of a sudden, at like 7 o'clock this evening, it was Aston Villa have beaten Palace have agreed everything with Evan Gesson, have agreed the deal with Nice, and he's coming to Villa for a 5-year deal and a medical tomorrow. So what was the situation from the Palace perspective? Have you been tracking this player for a while? Have you been trying to... the rumour's been around?
Yeah, look, the reason why I'm so frustrated is because like personal terms were agreed like 2 weeks ago.
Right, okay.
Personal terms were agreed. And I think it was moving steadily to the point where, like, was it Tuesday? No, Tuesday is today, sorry. Sunday evening, there were rumors that, like, look, agreements in like this is going ahead. What didn't help was last week a Saudi team called Neom bid 30 million euros, and we had only bidded 20 million pounds. So we're obviously now there's a 7 million differential there. So Nice are now thinking, hold on a sec, we want a bit more money here. And I think what we're trying to play the long game with it. And you'll have just come in and play, all right, there you go, here's 35.
Because I know Villa were interested in him last year, and I talked about him on like a transfer rumor show last year and he kind of fits a profile that Emery likes, bit of a rough diamond, strong runner with the ball, quite big, powerful.
Yeah.
And he always was in the back of my mind of like, I think that's the player that he's going to potentially go for when it was like, oh, we need someone as a kind of a backup, if you like, to Ollie Watkins, or a bit of competition for Ollie Watkins, but can also play in other positions. But yeah, to kind of come out of the blue like that, I don't know whether Villa just saw the value in the deal or whether they were tracking what Palace were doing. I'm not too sure what that was. What do you think on that? Do you think it's kind of been a case of let's see what Crystal Palace do, or let's see what other offers come in from Saudi and all these other clubs, and then we'll know what the value is, and then we can swoop in and get him? Do you think that's what Villa have done?
To be honest, I think a lot of clubs do that. Like they will kind of test the waters pretty much to see, and look, I can't fault you lot at all. Like, I'm just annoyed at my club regarding this. Like, congratulations, you've got. For me personally, he kind of gives me Eze vibes in how he plays, because he'll drop deeper, he'll pick up the ball. I know I was listening to what you said earlier, Rich, in your earlier recording about like SofaScore saying about his first touch and stuff. There ain't nothing wrong with his first touch. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, he's strong. He's a strong runner. And you know what? Like, 12 goals, 10 assists, or 13 goals, 10 assists?
Yeah.
That's pretty decent, because what it is Nice initially played him as a striker, and he wasn't getting the best of luck. So that's the only thing I may question on the Villa side. Where would you play him in a sense? Because when he moved into a 10 position, that's when he became more effective. Right. And he would have been perfect for us, because we would have had, for now, Eze on one side, and now we've got a competition between Sarr and Gassand on the other, which is not happening. So unfortunately for you guys, as it stands, this Miller Star will continue to play against you.
Just a question for you, though, right?
Yeah. Sar's just going to keep scoring against us now.
Yeah, just a question for you, Rich. If you had signed Gassand, was that going to be an Eze replacement? Obviously, there's talks with him. Either he's leaving or he's not. Do you think
Look,
Hassan would have been an Eze replacement?
if it wasn't as a replacement, so be it. I'd rather it be that we've got the player in before a player leaves. You know, because let's just say we got him in, and as he stays, we've added depth. Remember, we're in Europe this year as well. Which competition we'll find out on Monday. We need to strengthen our squad. Look, we haven't lost anyone yet, apart from Rob Holding. So, so it looks on paper like, Palace has still got the team together. But if you're playing Europe, you've got extra 10 to 15 potential games. You know, we've never done this before, and we're leaving our most successful manager short. Like, he left Frankfurt for not being backed. And this is the second summer running that, at it stands, we're not backing him early. Not to say that by the end of the window, we've not got players in, but what targets are going. Dan and Doe was someone else we'll keep an eye on. He's gone Forest. So who are we left with? Because now if Eze and Gerhi do leave now, we've left ourselves short.
Yeah, well, I think it was... I mean, I don't know how popular he is with the Crystal Palace faithful, but Simon Jordan, in all his wisdom on TalkSport, was saying about Glasner, you know, how much patience will he have? And he's done a really good job with Palace. Obviously won a trophy now. You'd think that he's got all of the keys to sort of say, well, I need backing here, and it doesn't seem like it's happening right now. Yes, you've gone after targets and all that kind of stuff, but how long do you think his patience will last?
I mean, his contract's up in the summer anyway, you know, because he only signed a 2.5-year deal. And he's always said that, listen, I will stay at Palace when I know I can't take them any further. You know, so to him, for me personally, I think if he gets the back in, he would have done an extra 2 years just to see, can we break into that glass ceiling of the top 7 by the league. Difficult task. Not saying we'll do it, but that would be the case where he'd be like, if I can't do that, I've done all I can for the club. I've done all I can, and at least he would have given us 4.5 years.
Yeah,
no one would complain. This aspect here, where the board's being so naive in not backing him early enough, he could either walk or say, you know what, I ain't signing a new contract. And that will be a bigger injustice than us losing the likes of Eze and Gay.
But do you think if he doesn't sign, say if he decides not to sign a new deal, or if he decides to walk, say, this summer by argument's sake, do you think that'd be a dominant effect on players leaving the club?
Massively. Because don't forget, we've even got to think of next summer. Because right now it's Eze and Gerhi. Next summer, it could be Mateta, Wharton. You know, like, we've got to preempt players.
I love Nunes myself. I think he'd be great for us.
That's another one, to be fair. Like, I know he's just signed a new deal, but that means nothing in this day and age. It just means your release clause gets bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going to be in a stage where we're Palace. We're going to lose players. Like, we're not that big a team. Let's be real. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. We're not a big team. If a bigger team comes in for our players, they're gone. But the one person that could work wonders with what we have is the manager. You've got to go out and do everything you can to back that manager, and we haven't done that.
Yeah, well, look, you never know. We could be doing a little trade, and we get Gesson. We swoop in and get Gesson, and you guys come and take Leon Bailey off our hands or something.
I can't even send him myself, can I?
Well, in our channel, guess what? You're taking all the dirt you can get. Winning the FA Cup and only got them to Conference League, eh?
So just get started on that one, by the way, please.
Just before we finish up, anyway, thank you for jumping on, Rich, and giving us that insight. But yeah, what are your sort of hopes on Palace for the season? Obviously, it's a bit of a difficult one at the minute in terms of trying to strengthen, but you know, you've got to be fairly excited with whatever European tournament you enter, European football. Still got a good side as it stands, very good side at the moment. So you got to be excited.
No, absolutely. I mean, realistically, for me, I just want to have a good showing in Europe. And that might just be at least get to the knockout stages. If we end losing the knockout stages, so be it. A lot of people are out there saying, if it's a Conference League, you lot can go win it. For a club that's never been in Europe, I am not going to underestimate the experience that other clubs have had
Yeah.
in that. Now, granted, we may not play any European football whatsoever, minus the playoffs. Because if Cass decide to not overturn the decision and we stay in the Conference League, we have a 2-game playoff against Frederiksstad or Midtjylland, and that's basically the playoff from the Europa League. So the losing team would then play us in the Conference League playoff for an opportunity to get to the group stage. We could lose that, and we have no Europe at all. So we just have to kind of wait and see, take it one game at a time, I guess.
Yeah. But look, it was a good experience for Villa in that Conference League, and it set us in good stead for the season after, and what was to come with the Champions League. And the Villa fans absolutely loved it with regards to the different grounds you go into, some of these kind of far-flung places in Europe, but some of the teams that end up in that Conference League can be pretty good. So whatever European competition it is, it'll be a good experience. 100%.
I know as Villa fans, you lot definitely don't want us in the Europe League.
We definitely don't want you in that Conference League. Absolutely not. Ismail Assar can do one in any competition. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, though, Rich, and jumping on and talking about that and giving us an insight into how it would kind of slip through the Palace's fingers. But as you say, it happens. Newcastle have had it done to them this season. Multiple clubs have had it done to them this season, and I'm sure it will continue this transfer window because
you've got yourself a good player. Awesome. In my personal opinion.
Awesome. Well, let's hope you are correct. Martin, thank you so much for joining. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Nearly 300 in the chat as well. So thank you to you all for watching. If you haven't already, please do smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're just over 100 away from the big 6,000 subscribers. So please help us hit that number. And do follow Rich as well on his channel at Eagle Eyed Football as well. And follow all things Crystal Palace. We'll be back. I'll be back with Rich Reacts to our preseason game against Roma on Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, if you're watching live, or if you're watching on Wednesday, it'll be later on. And I'll also be back with transfer talk, rumor shows, all that jazz. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. We're hoping to do our season predictions show on Sunday as well. So look out for that one. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.